I just realized 5 different girls. So basically, where you were from, you were a player.
No. That if I don't get on this plane and I don't go try and see what happens, I'm really scared that in 5 years' time, I'm gonna say, what if? When I came here, it was with the intention of moving here for Jen. I sort of was like, well, what do we do? We've kind of found ourselves falling in love a bit here.
That's sweet and
That is
romantic and making me sick.
Look, there's someone there.
Oh no! A white man.
Terrifying. This is a Chinese bar. I'm sorry. This is a Chinese bar. We were all, yeah.
Very
Jauh-jauh
delicious.
ke sini, cuman ke bar ini.
Just to go to this bar.
Yeah, just to come here. Aduh.
Don't you find another bar? Why you choose here if it's far away?
I heard if I come here, you can solve my problems.
That's very true.
Is that true? Is
that
that
is
true?
very true.
Yes, yes.
We offer you a drink, right? We offer you a drink.
This,
Este manis.
this is what makes this bar special. You don't need to order, and
You don't
we
need
just
to
give
order
you drinks.
because we actually only have like 2 things in the menu.
Oh, wow.
And,
Complex.
yeah, exactly. And one of them I can't really make. So, you know, like technically.
There's only one option.
There's only one option.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers. I'm not gonna tell you how long that drinks has been sitting here.
A while, yeah.
So, what makes you come to our bar?
You know, guys, I've been in Indonesia for 3 years now,
Oh, wow.
but I'm still having problems with the culture shock here,
Okay.
the language barrier. Life is difficult. You know, I just took a Grab on the way here, guys.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, I just took a taxi, and I was in the car and we were going on the toll road, and the driver asked me for 100,000
Okay.
to top up his toll card.
Okay.
Emang tol harganya berapa sih?
Well, considering the toll price and the years we got colonized, I think that's a fair price.
I think that's just a you problem, to be honest.
I think so. I don't know, it's difficult. You know, every time I go places here, I always seem to run into something. Even though I can speak Bahasa Indonesia now a bit.
You can?
Yeah, lumayan lancar ya.
Yeah. How long did it take you to actually learn that? I'm actually.
Well, I'm not fluent yet completely, but I would say I'm at the point now where I can have a daily conversation. We can talk about different topics. But if we talk about anything too specific, no, nggak bisa.
You know, the funniest thing, I think the first time I've met you, the fact that you speak Bahasa Indonesia like that, I was kind of like ashamed that my Bahasa Indonesia is like a bit worse than yours.
Really?
It is.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, you don't have to
Yes.
agree that fast. My Bahasa Indonesia is not that bad.
I'm just saying, you like mixing words, you know?
Okay, well, I mean, I've been here, what, 18 years, 19 years?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were born
I-
here.
You have no excuse.
I have, well, you know, okay, the fact that you can already speak Bahasa Indonesia, I'm sure that'll surprise a lot of people that try to scam you, no?
Well, you'd think so. I thought if I speak Indonesian with people, right,
Yeah.
maybe there would be less problems because either people would say, oh, you know, Alistair lives here. Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
understands, like, the price of things, right?
Yeah.
But actually, it kind of causes more problems for me. To the point where sometimes I question, why do I try? even the
What?
other day, right?
Yeah, well, what happened?
The other day, I wanted to order a coffee.
Right.
Okay, I was sat down in a lovely little cafe, and sering banget, very often I get mixed up with different words, simple words in Indonesian. And in this scenario, I just wanted a coffee and I wanted with some sugar. So I said to the waitress that came over, I said, aku boleh nggak pesan 1 kopi, tapi tambah banyak garam. Nah, garam, salt kan? Tapi
Okay.
I thought it was sugar. Garam gula. So I was mixed up. Dan dia kayak lihat aku kayak, kok emang kamu serius tambah garam yakin? Dan aku bilang, iya garam, iya banyak please. Jadi minumnya sampai, aku minum. Apaan sih? What's inside this?
Okay, in that specific story,
Uh-huh.
I think that's more your fault.
Emang, yeah.
Yeah,
A tad
and like
bit.
I can trying to put myself in the barista's shoes because like she is not well, like they don't dare to ask you,
Yeah.
are you sure, because maybe it's your culture there,
Well, that's true. You don't
drink
know,
coffee
you
with
know?
salt.
Which culture? But yeah, Emang, yeah,
Some
I'm
weird
the
culture.
problem. I'm the problem. But that's been part of the issue with moving here is, yeah, I'm always confused. At first, when I moved here, I was really embarrassed to even try to speak Indonesian, right? Because I knew I would, yeah, of course I'm going to say something wrong.
Right.
But the more time I spent here, the more I was like, you know what? Just give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Well, it turns out there's some pretty crazy things that can happen. But I think it makes life a bit more exciting.
What's the worst that could happen? You could have drink coffee with salt.
I think Indonesia, for like at least foreigners, is kind of like a coin flip, because a lot of people are very nice. A lot of people are very, very nice, but there's also some people that are like just a bit iffy when it comes to foreigners. And I mean,
Yeah, it's like when you arrive in Indonesia, if you get some people want to take picture with you.
Yeah, even before I did any content creation and my face was anywhere online, it was really common that I could be anywhere. Maybe I was at Ancol, anywhere. And people would come up to me
Just to
and
ask
just
for
would like a photo. Just because I think, especially in Jakarta, right? It's not the most common thing in certain areas to see someone like me.
yeah.
Well,
White.
That's the thing. I had a really funny story from college because like one of my friends there was white, right? Is white, I should say.
No, I was
not
gonna say was.
Is white. Is still white now. But she went to college here, and then she met all of us, and like, oh my God, Indonesians are so nice.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, we're just talking, we're chilling, and we don't really care about anyone's like ethnicity or anything, right? So they're like, wow, you guys are really nice. A day later, she was just walking down the street, and then some person stole her phone.
Serious.
Yeah. So the person stole her phone, and then when she asked for help, they were like, huh, like that, because they don't know what's going on. It's gone. Like, it's gone. I don't know what to tell you, right? Because she's not very good at Barcelona.
Yeah.
So like everyone's just like, oh, no. And then she went back to us and like, so I was wrong. It's just like any other country.
It depends, right? Though it depends, because you know, if I look back on my 3 years here so far, I would take the conclusion that generally people have been so smiley with me here. People are so supportive of me. But I don't know whether that's coming from some place of bias. Maybe I just haven't had the moment yet, which changes my opinion. I don't know. But then again, I try to in life see it positively.
Are you tend to like when you meet new people, are you tend to think like they are nice until they're proven otherwise? You know, it's like see the good in people.
Oh,
or
yeah.
things.
Okay, maybe I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but I did a psychology degree. So reading people and kind of like meeting people, I think about it a lot. And the conclusion I have right now is I think everyone has most people, 99% of people have good intentions. It just sometimes it can get lost in translation.
Okay.
Or they have self-serving things that they want to achieve.
So you think people are inherently good?
Most. There are people who are
Okay.
not. But I think most people, if you meet someone on the street, people want to be good.
I'm a cynic. I think everyone is in my book. Everyone's an asshole until they're proven otherwise.
Okay.
You still hasn't proven anything.
We've got some work to do.
I'm a realist. I'll say that.
Okay.
I'm just like, hey, you know, I'll give people the benefit of the doubt, but maybe if they do too much shitty things, then probably not.
Yeah, I think for me, it's if I go around thinking people, oh, this person's doing this because they've got this bad intention, or if I think too deeply about everyone's actions, or you just gave me that nice thing because you wanted to look good.
Because I'm also studying psychology, right? You know,
Yeah.
but I have this idea that people are inherently selfish. That's mine. So
Okay.
here's the thing. Let's say that someone does something good, right? People do that because it makes them feel good. Because helping someone else do something will make other people think of them better, and also they will think of themselves better. That is an inherently selfish thing. That doesn't mean that doing good is a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a great thing,
Yeah.
but it is still selfish, you know.
Yeah.
I can semi-agree with you, but I think that purely if we go around viewing the world as everyone else is
Right.
bad or has bad intentions, it's a net negative for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Because I think it's nice at the end of the day to try and see the positivity in people. But I agree. But then again, it's cultural as well.
True.
Fair.
Because I came here, and all of a sudden, I was really surprised with how collectivist the culture is. Actually, I know we're saying that people are selfish, but actually here, I feel like people just help people like
That's
crazy
true.
here.
That is true.
You know,
That
if
is very
someone's
true.
in need or whatever, people just give. There's a lot of gift giving in the
true.
culture here, I find,
Yes.
generally.
That is very true.
Whereas back home, maybe not so much. It's a bit more individualist.
I guess people that's not from Indonesia is more independent, probably, because like I think that's what we learned from our other guests too, actually.
Uh-huh.
Because some people that came to Indonesia, where they're from, a lot more people are more independent and they're more like
More individualistic.
more individualistic.
That's
Yeah.
the main thing.
which is not a bad thing. Like being independent is good.
Yeah.
But Indonesia is more about like what is it? Working together.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, for example, right, when I was 18 and I just sort of was going into the life of university in the UK, the expectation for me in the UK is, right, okay, you're 18, you're now officially an adult, you can do what you want, you go live by yourself, you go get a job and
Yeah.
go sort yourself out.
Yeah.
Right, it's not quite as harsh as that.
But it's kind of
But
like
there really is an element of that. If I was the age I am now, 27, and I was still saying, yeah, I think I'm just going to live at home,
yeah.
that would be something that people would judge me for in the UK. Whereas,
Yes.
in sense, it doesn't make any sense at all. Why I have to go pay rent or do whatever
Yeah.
elsewhere
Yeah.
when it's going to cost me more money, cause more hassle. But it's a sort of a social image thing.
Yeah. I think like in the Western world, if you're like 27 and still living in your parents'
Yeah.
basement, you just like you're like you're a loser, you know, like type of thing.
Yeah.
Like get your life together, sort it out, move out. But then like in Indonesia, you'll still see like 3 generations living in the same house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
So, are you did move to Indonesia because you want to see the culture here? You want to experience the life here, or like, is there something else? You know, some
Is
other
there
reason?
someone?
something else.
Is there
Oh, like- or like
someone that
someone-
made it so you're staying here?
Well, I'm not here on a study tour. But yeah, I met my now partner, Jen, on a dating app originally 3 years ago. And from that point, I said I would come to Indonesia just to see. We'd already got sort of very close to the point where we wanted to meet, and we knew we were real, more importantly.
Yeah.
And I came here, I traveled here for a bit, and at the end of that month, when I had to go back to the UK because my life was still there, I sort of was like, well, what do we do? We've kind of found
Yeah.
ourselves falling in love with it here. So I made a bit of a plan, and in the 4 months that I was in the UK, I decided, well, okay, I'll work in the UK for 4 months. Any money that I earn from that job in the UK, I'll put aside, and then at the end of that, I'll try to move to Indonesia. I'll try and move here, and if that money is still in the bank account and it's either going up or staying the same, I can stay. Something's working.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden it disappears, maybe we need to reevaluate. So yeah, I came here with the intention of, in the most romantic way possible, chasing love and chasing this future with Jen. Obviously, we'd been sensible about it, and we'd spoken, what happens here, because this is not something that's entirely normal, just packing up and moving country. But we thought we'd give it a shot, because you've got one life. And as I said to my parents on the day that I left to Indonesia, I said, Mum, Dad, if I don't get on this plane and I don't go try and see what happens, I'm really scared that in 5 years' time, I'm going to say, what if?
Right.
And I really don't want to live my life where it's
There's
full
a
of
what
what
ifs. Yeah.
at least try. You know, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, sure, the worst that could happen is I get kidnapped tonight, whatever. But it didn't, okay? We can't think like that. Again, we have to see the positive, okay? Because otherwise, if I don't personally look at the positive in things, I won't do anything because I'll be too scared. So for me, when I came here, it was with the intention of moving here for Jen and seeing where things happened, if I could build a life here. And I really didn't know the answer to that at first. But I am incredibly grateful and lucky to say that 3 years down the line, I'm still here.
That's sweet and romantic and making me sick.
It's making you sick?
It's like,
I was going to say emotional. What is wrong with you? I was about to say, oh, wow, that makes me so emotional. That makes me want to cry. But no, you're like, oh, that makes me sick.
Yeah, it's like...
Two different types of people.
But that's very nice, though. You're like, you're basically coming here for love, right?
Yeah.
And so it's real.
It's real. It's real. You know, the funny thing is that I'm surprised with how much I've been asked that question. There's people that have met me and Jen in the aftermath of all the content that we've made, and they've sort of known us or seen us online, and they've said, "Wow, you know, aku kaget. I'm surprised.
That is a natural.
Like you guys are actually like the same as we expect you to be, or like the same as we thought you are online."
I think this is also a question that I'm very interested in because, like, okay, let's say, I'm not saying that you're not blessed or anything, because being able to do this as a job and being able to do what we're doing as a job is a blessing, of course. But let's say that you have the same amount of like money, the same amount of everything. Do you want it so no one knows you're in a relationship with, like, like you're not public?
Yeah.
Let's say.
Would you rather, if you have a choice, would you rather to keep it like private?
Because I'm also kind of thinking about it, because I was like, if I'm in a relationship with another celebrity, like, should I make it go public or not? Because sometimes I'm thinking, oh, I just want this to be our little thing, and I just want it to be private, or I want people to know, hey, look, I'm actually dating this person.
Yeah. It's a very interesting question. But for me, if you ask me that question, I'm not sure my answer can relate to yours. Because for me, if you ask me that question, okay, if I could press a button right now at this bar, and then I could just take away all that side of it, and it would just be like it always has been, but without the cameras or this and that, I would say no, because you're asking me to change everything now fundamental to my relationship in some ways. And you're asking me to change and get rid of memories that have probably been founded because of the life that I live now and the experience that I've had with Jen. And the way I see Jen is also shaped by the work that she does and the person that she is. And that's something that I'm proud of in our relationship as well. So would I change it now? No, I wouldn't. I'm happy. I'm really happy in Indonesia. But is there another reality in which we didn't have the cameras? Yeah, probably there is, because when I moved here, there was none of it. There was it wasn't a thing. I wasn't doing any of this. I never, you know, took a camera out for the sake of
chasing clout.
It was never that. It was only ever capturing what was already there. So you raise a very interesting question to me, but I don't think I'd have it any other way as it is now.
That is very nice answer. You know?
I thought you were going to say it makes you sick.
I hate this.
No, because we're talking about alternate reality.
Okay, so
we're
that's
not talking about feelings. What is feeling?
I actually don't know how to feel about like that question too. Like, because if I'm given the choice, I don't know if I want to make it go public or like not. Because like on one hand, I agree that like all the experiences and everything, like maybe it'll be a lot more if it's public. But then on the other hand, is like there's some parts of my life that I do want to keep private.
Yeah.
Okay? It's also the same for us, though, I found, because the nature of what we put online is quite, it's quite personal. A lot of activities or things that we do are the things that we show online. And that, to me, has been something I had to find a line with personally. Like,
because you two put your life online, and I know my people, and sometimes they can be very nasty on online situation. Do you guys got like a comment that like borderline very, attacking your personal life, asking like, I mean, like, because in the mindset of Indonesian people, oh, bule, they're like free, you know.
Yeah, there definitely is. There definitely has been points at which, if I sit there and I scroll and I read everything that everyone's ever written, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to come across something that is a negative outlook.
Yeah.
But I've always been someone who I can shrug these things off quite easily because I have integrity in myself. I know who I am. I know that I love Jen. I know my intention in Indonesia. I know, for example, there was a point at which a lot of people were saying something about kita di apa namanya HTS. HTS,
hubungan tanpa status.
Situationship. Yes.
Nah, itu cuman soalnya it was because I didn't technically ask Jen to be my girlfriend.
Okay.
Right? That was my one mistake. And because of that, I think a lot of people said, "Oh, you guys are just in a situationship, not married, no intention."
I hate that so much.
So there's been moments like I've read comments like that, and then people as well have brought up the fact about us. Oh, you guys must live together. When in fact it's clarified that's not the case, and I moved here with the intention of respecting the culture as much as I respect Jen. But there's some things, no matter how hard I think you try to clarify, people will take what they take from the things you put out there. And that's inherently the nature of the risk you run, publicizing yourself, I think.
Especially in Indonesia, the topic
That's
of
true.
living together is
It's
very like,
yeah.
that's a Gen Z word, living together. Back then we called it just kumpul kebo, which is like the gather of a buffalo.
I mean,
Right?
I think as time goes on, people will be more open-minded about it.
Like, do you okay, let's put the culture aside.
Okay.
Do you agree or disagree about the living together before you start your life together?
My perspective has changed on this with time because now I'm here. I'm someone that, no matter sort of what I felt personally or the life I lived before I came here, I understand that when I move somewhere, one, it's important for me to respect that culture, and two, I should do my best to ingrain myself within that culture. So that's why when I came here, I sort of have tried to understand and learn, okay, this, you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and why shouldn't I do this? Even if it's not my inherent belief, I won't do it because I respect the culture. But having said that, before I moved here, I don't know if this is a concept that's strange to Indonesia or not, but when I was in uni, I lived in a house with like 5 other girls.
Oh
And that
yeah,
was
it's
just
roommates,
Yeah,
housemates.
just like totally like normal, like didn't even think of anything of it.
But then like, okay, living together in this sense is more of like you in a relationship with the other person.
Yeah, well, I think that in some ways, at least if I asked my friends as well in the UK, they would say, oh, yeah, well, surely you have to live together, right? Because you need to know if you're cocok to get married.
Compatible or not, yeah.
And you'll only know that if you live with someone. They'll say, do they wash their dishes up? Do they do this? Are they clean? Are they tidy? And they say, there's a saying in the UK and in the West that's like, yeah, you only know someone once you've lived with them.
I just realized 5 different girls. So basically, where you were from, you were a player.
No, I was absolutely not. We don't get a choice. When you go to uni in the UK,
Oh, it's expensive, when you have like some other people living together, share the rent.
It's expensive. And the first year you go to uni, you just get told, you turn up on the first day and you find out who you're going to be living with, right?
Yeah.
For the next few years.
I think living for me personally, like, okay, let's not talk about the culture and everything. I think I'm very open-minded about living together. The thing is, even if you don't think about the culture, you got to think about the fact that most people in Indonesia are still living with their parents. And I think it's pretty weird if, let's say, like I have a girlfriend and they live with me and my parents.
True.
I don't know how to feel about that, right? So I guess if that's the case, maybe not. But like you said, about what your friend said about you got to see their habits and everything. I do kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
A bit.
Like me personally, I think like, especially if you're like going to the serious relationship, like if you to plan to get married, I think it's important to kind of like test out how you like compatible in living in the same roof at least like for a couple months, like 6 months, you know? Like what if I hate the way my partner defrosts the chicken? You know, it's gonna be like bother me.
That's true. I have this thing where like a lot of relationships can break just from like slight disagreements.
Yeah.
Because like even if it's just a slight disagreement, if that escalates a lot, that can make or break a relationship.
But that's why you need to communicate.
True. True.
Well, a lot of people aren't very good at communication. That's
Yeah.
the problem. But of course, this is all theoretical
Theo-
because we are in Indonesia and we do respect the culture
Yes.
here. So like
Yes.
obviously we're not gonna live together in the same room.
Of course.
I mean,
Before
like,
marriage.
so I'm like, I'm in a long distance relationship, right? So when every time my boyfriend's here,
Yeah.
like we're trying to always stay in the South Jakarta because at least that's still like very, like, you know, we can still walk holding hands outside
Yeah.
because like outside South Jakarta, it's a little bit more of a like weird when you're just showing a minimum of PDA.
It's true. That was one of the things as well that I had
Yeah.
to learn. This has been a whole learning curve for me coming here because not only has my language barrier been tested, I've been culture shocked and everything, but my whole understanding of what is right and what is wrong in
Okay.
society has changed. And it's interesting you asking me these questions because although once upon a time I might have answered very strongly like, you know, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not normal to do
Yeah.
this or that? Now I feel, having been here 3 years, I can understand why there are the views that there are. And I think that's the beautiful thing that moving somewhere else
Yes.
and traveling the world, the luxury of that unlocks is I feel like I've been able to empathize with different types of people, different culture. And I think, you know, I think that's a great thing at the end of the day.
It's like the PDA here in Indonesia. Every time, like so I live in Bali. So every time in Jakarta and my boyfriend comes visit me in Jakarta, at the airport when I pick him up, we do handshake.
What?
It's like nice to see you. We don't even hug because we were that scared
Yeah.
of like people looking at us. Because that's
What have
very
I been
weird.
doing then? I should start doing that too.
So I was like, good to see you, sir.
I had taken a chest bump.
I was like, eh.
What's up, my man?
I think it also depends on the age then, because like depending on the scene and the age, I don't think.
Oh,
Much
I
people-
guess it's also because like people will see what, you know, the way they see
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
you know. But then like it's more. I think it's in Indonesia the mindset of like Indonesian girls dating a bule. They have like this idea. It's like, oh, is she a bule hunter, right?
Yeah.
Is she like a gold digger? What is it's like? Why is she dating a white man? And it's like in order for you to be a gold digger, there's gotta be a gold to dig.
Didn't you say you dated your boyfriend now for the visa?
Passport, yes. I don't date him for money. I date him for passport. That's different.
And love on the side.
That's so much better than dating for money.
Hey, you know, I love him, but what I love more is to travel the world without the difficulty of getting a visa.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so nice of her.
I love him. I love him.
You ever thought that maybe your girlfriend's doing the same thing?
Well, you know, it's funny you bring up all the comments and stuff from earlier because that was something that I would see and read online.
Right? Oh,
I was like,
really?
sorry, what is a bule hunter, sayang? Oh, don't worry. No, she never said that. No, I've always been.
What is that bull hunter saying? Oh, that's me.
Oh, okay.
It's like, it's been in my family for a generation.
But no. For clarification,
Yeah,
no. She's never once
Of course.
been like that.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I think it's gone to the point where like I've told people before this podcast, I'm saying like, oh, I'm gonna do a podcast with Alistair, and they're like, who? I'm like, no, you know, like Mas Bule. Oh, I'm like,
Oh, Mas Bule itu. Yeah.
like, so I'm like, because I don't know. I think titles. I don't really like people calling me by titles, and like,
And what's your title?
there's like some random ones, but I don't have anyone that's sick right now. But like, if someone calls me like Mas Chinese, I'm gonna be very mad.
Yeah, but it's a bit. I guess it isn't different, but at the same time, for me at least, I've sort of gotten to the point where it's almost become my identity a little bit here as well. You know, it's what makes me feel like me here at the moment. So I'm absolutely fine with it. It's not something that I'd even bat an eyelid at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people just kind of be like, I guess like people will be offended if they choose to be offended, right? Like, but like once you know the culture behind it, it's nothing to be like offended about.
That's
It's just the way we call white people, bule.
That is true.
Yeah.
You know, and also like, I feel like Indonesian especially have also the mindset that like all bules that come to Indonesia are like having a lot of money.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you're white equals rich.
Mm-hmm.
Just like have you seen bule that come to fucking Bali? It's always a joke for like new tourists that come to Indonesia. Oh, I'll become a millionaire.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
Well, I remember the first time I came to Bali and I'd taken some money out, Indonesian money out in the UK, and I got my first ever Indonesian rupiah. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, I think I'm rich. I think I'm rich. I've got millions here.
I mean, this is me personally. I feel like if you're white and poor, it's a red flag.
I'm sorry?
It's a red flag. If you're white and poor, it's a red flag because where were your ancestors when the other busy stealing?
Oh wow.
You know, like what were your ancestors doing?
Maybe they were a nice person. You ever thought about that?
There's an opportunity rising.
Just don't
They
listen.
were focused on the love. They were focused on
Just focus on she's the only one without a psychology degree.
Yeah,
well,
exactly,
I also
exactly.
don't have a psychology degree, but I'm trying to get there.
Hey, you know how? So I go to therapy. Therapy is nice. You should go to therapy. It took me 6 months to open up to my therapist because I just go there and then tell him jokes, and then to the point that like at the last session, and then he was like, you know, you pay me, right?
You coming for a chat?
And
or?
I was like, you're right. I pay you money to listen to me telling jokes. What is this? You
It's
know?
practice for you.
Fair,
Right?
fair.
Has your psychology degree actually helped in like this industry? Now that I'm thinking about it.
They say when you go and start studying a psychology degree, I don't know if you had the same situation as me, they kind of tell you, they go, you know, this is a great subject to study because it can apply to so many different things, you know, marketing,
Yeah.
You name it, business, pasti ada psychology.
Yes.
So when we look at in the sense that I studied clinical psychology.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't sit on a day-to-day basis and talk about people's problems apart from here.
Hey, I'm an open book. I tell people my thing. You know?
But actually, in other more roundabout ways, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think my understanding of people, how to talk to people, maybe a little bit more of an understanding on people's motives or a bit more of a top-down look on the world. I think that's helped me. I think especially, you know, I guess I am involved in marketing a bit now as well and stuff, you know, when we're involved with brands. I think it helps me understand and sometimes reach the creativity of an idea. So yeah, I suppose it has helped me.
I think the fact that like you can actually, it does help you talk to people.
Yes.
And like it does like maybe give you some insight on what people are feeling. Maybe that does help.
But I don't know if you found this as well,
Right.
but one of the things which I think people are taken aback by with psychology, right? When we think psychology, we think Freud, we think all these, you know, about the consciousness, all these big concepts. Actually, the day-to-day in psychology, depending on which route you go down, there is a lot of maths and statistical data.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time during the UK when I was doing all my psychology things, actually conducting studies. So looking at various different disorders, but also actually, you know, trying to understand more about those disorders, working with professionals in the industry that are sort of expert on all the inner goings of the brain and everything. So yeah, that hasn't helped me at all.
But like, don't you? Do you ever think? Because like you now dabbled in content creation. Maybe like you do your own content, as in like talking about psychology, make people aware in Indonesia. Because you know, I think like you make good money on that.
For me, okay, one, it's not about the money. Okay, I don't want to sound cliche, but at this point, I think if you're doing something altruistic like that, no, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. I tell you why it's not. Because I'm already happy and comfortable here, so I don't need to do stuff
Okay.
to get more.
Give me all your money then.
Sure.
We made this bar for money. We're here.
If you don't like money, we love money.
Let's upgrade. Let's upgrade. We can make the menu bigger to start with. But I think, yeah, I have considered it, is the short answer. The slightly longer answer is I've been caught off guard by this change in my life massively, because I didn't expect to have people, you know, who believe in me or listen to me or, you know, support me in any, you know, in any sense like I am now. And I've realized with Jen, you know, we're very fortunate enough to have built a, you know, modest following online. And I'm realizing that whether I like it or not, that should come with some level of responsibility as well, I think.
Of course.
So I think it would be a shame at this stage in our lives not to do something or other with that. And we do in a personal sense, but actually to use that platform for good. You know, I massively admire people like Erica Ricardo, Jeremy Owen, people like that who really, you know, how are a force
like
for
advocate on like things that are important.
exactly.
You know something I just realized? I don't think we ever give you advice about the problem. that you came here
I think
for.
it's the other way around. I mean, I don't.
It might be.
I think so.
I think. Yay!
Can you give
Maybe I
us
can sign the
advice?
contract to work here. Maybe.
Oh, this is the case of a psychologist need their own psychology.
That's true. That is actually very true. You know, the fact that like we study psychology does not mean that we don't need a therapist ourselves.
Right? You know, actually, at least in the UK, if you work as a psychologist, it's mandatory
To have a
that you
therapist.
have a therapist yourself.
It's
Because
right.
you carry around the baggage of everyone else, right? And eventually, if you know you pour the water in that glass too much, it's going to overflow as well.
In that case, can you therapize each other? Because like that means that therapist also need another therapist, right?
It's a never-ending
So
line
then
of
it's like
therapy.
it's gonna be exactly.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It is.
Wow, and they're all paying each
It's
other.
money laundering.
Oh wow, who's the top? Who's on the top?
Well, so here's the bill.
Okay.
I just realized that this is someone else's bill, but we'll use the same.
Okay.
There
Yes.
you go. There's already a signature there.
Wow.
It means nothing though.
Wow,
it's
that's quite
5 million.
expensive. One drink, or is
Yeah.
that?
No,
is-
look at
Oh.
all the charges.
It's wondering in our company.
Yeah.
Company's quite expensive.
Because we talk.
Oh, of course.
And, it's company time.
And also the ice cube is imported
The
from
ice
China.
cube.
Okay. I'll just write up the invoice for the therapy as well. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same price.